So, Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle, the newest Godzilla movie released onto Netflix, and the second part in the Godzilla anime trilogy. Months of people saying that this movie was gonna be absolute trash. But was it? No, it wasn't. Those people were just stupid. And I'm gonna talk about why I like it on today's episode of Year of the Monsters. Snippity snap, my fellow human beings or fellow creatures of the cosmos. This is Sam the Geigen fan, and today we're going to be talking about Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle. So, City on the Edge of Battle is the newest Godzilla movie that was released as the second part of the Godzilla anime trilogy that is releasing onto Netflix. And as I stated, I really liked it. The previous entry in the trilogy, Godzilla Planet of the Monsters, didn't exactly give this trilogy the most fantastic start. I did like a few aspects in Planet of the Monsters, but I can say that overall, the movie is just, it's not great. But City on the Edge of Battle, I would argue, is actually pretty good. Like, actually good. Like, I'd actually, put it in, like, a good rating. So, yeah, let's get into a synopsis before we talk about it. After Haruo and company get completely decimated by the 300-meter-tall Godzilla Earth, they begin exploring the monster planet and come across native tribes and cities with sinister intentions. One of the biggest things going against City on the Edge of Battle was that it looked like just a basic retread of Planet of the Monsters. People were gonna make a plan to stop Godzilla, and then it may or may not have worked. And it basically is. People make a plan to go and fight against Godzilla, and it kinda sorta doesn't work. But I will say this. City on the Edge of Battle has a lot more interesting things going for it than Planet of the Monsters did. Like Planet of the Monsters, there's a lot of exposition here. But a lot of it is new stuff that we haven't learned about before. Whereas Planet of the Monsters was basically just regurgitating information we already knew, City on the Edge of Battle was, spewing out information that we didn't know about. Like, for example, new stuff about the Hotoa, Mechagodzilla City, Godzilla Earth, and his relationship with the environment, etc. And personally, I found that to be pretty interesting. A lot of the most interesting stuff in this movie is new stuff. I stated before that this movie was going to be the world-building movie of the anime films, and I was right, thankfully. The story overall is a lot more in-depth and complex, I want to say, than just Planet of the Monsters. Whereas I stated in my review for Planet of the Monsters, the middle half of the movie is basically just every island adventure movie ever. Here, this middle half is basically just characters talking to each other about, their life on the big spaceship, the Eratrum. And personally, I found that to be really friggin' interesting and cool. We learn a lot more about these characters this time around than we did in Planet of the Monsters, which makes sense because this is technically speaking the middle act of one big movie. So this is where we would get a lot of, the big character development. And thankfully, a lot of the stuff that we do have is pretty interesting. Some of the characters that barely got anything to do in Planet of the Monsters have a lot to do here. The Bill-Saludo and Yuko are the first ones that come to mind. The Bill-Saludo are very tech-savvy aliens, and when the prospect of Mechagodzilla still being alive is brought up, they're just friggin' eager boys. They're excited, they're pumped, they're hype. And they're really excited to learn about the fact that Mechagodzilla City is a thing that exists. Yuko is kind of a standout role here. She didn't really get a whole lot of characterization in Planet of the Monsters, other than the fact that she was just a friend of Haruo's when they were younger. But here, we learn a lot more about this character. We learn that she never really got to see Earth before, so she doesn't understand everyone's homesickness, which I personally find to be really interesting. We know that just like the Bill-Saludo, she's pretty tech-savvy when she's flying around a new mecha called the Vulture, which is actually really cool. Haruo's character development has been really upped from Planet of the Monsters, whereas before he was just an edgy teen trying to kill Godzilla and only has one line of dialogue throughout the entire movie. This time, we have a lot more interesting stuff about Haruo. Haruo basically has to deal with the fact that he sacrificed a whole bunch of men for nothing. Because, this. Also, he forms a bit of a relationship with Yuko towards the middle half of the movie, which personally I didn't really have a lot of interest in, personally. I never really thought that they had a whole lot, personally, but whatever. That was a thing that happened, and it made it a lot more emotional towards the end. Medfeast is kind of sort of the same character that he was in the last movie. He doesn't have as much screen time as he did in Planet of the Monsters, which kind of sucks because he was my favorite character in that movie. But whatever, he's not exactly as good as he was in that movie either, so I guess it's fine. He's basically the same character as he was in Planet of the Monsters. And Martin and Adam are basically the same as the last movie. Martin is basically just a walking tool for plot exposition, and Adam is... what is his character? The animation, just like the last movie, was friggin' great. For some reason, the backgrounds looked a lot different too. I mean, it's by the same animation company either way, but something about it just looked different. It looked more hand-drawn and less CGI'd. The music is great, but I felt like it could have been used in a few more places. But there's a lot of great themes in this movie that are used very well. Godzilla Earth's theme is fantastic, as always, probably my favorite non-Ifukube theme ever. The theme that they gave Mechagodzilla City is really ominous and adds a sense of danger and dread to this new foreign location. And a lot of the reused themes I think are personally fine because, you know, it's the same composer as the last movie, so they're allowed to use reused themes. And Godzilla Earth is an absolute unit this time around. He was an absolute unit in Planet of the Monsters, mainly because he had no trouble at all trying to kill people. His personality stays the same as it was in the last movie, where it's still basically just get off my lawn, but it's the most entertaining thing ever, and Godzilla Earth proves that he is one of the most badass Godzillas ever put to film. Mechagodzilla, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Yet. I'm making a video talking about all the stuff regarding Mechagodzilla, so you'll get more of my thoughts about that later. But right now, I'm just gonna say that I like the decision, but I don't like how Toho went about handling it. But even though I won't talk about Mechagodzilla, I will talk about the stuff that he's made out of. Nanometal. Nanometal is this new material that was brought into this film universe, and it's basically just nanotechnology, but metal, so get it? Nano metal. Personally, I thought that nanometal is a really interesting little substance. I don't know if substance is the right word, but whatever, it's cool, and I like it. Essentially, if nanometal touches something, it basically turns that thing into nanometal. The first time we ever saw nanometal do this was when it was quote-unquote hunting the Servum, that were also hunting our main characters. And essentially what it did was that it was just like... it killed them. And you just see it just like slowly nanometalize their whole bodies, like create strings and just... it was cool. Nanometal is a really dangerous substance, and personally, I thought that it was handled really well in this movie. Even if we didn't get what we wanted to get out of Mechagodzilla, I'm glad that we got all this interesting stuff with Nanometal as a placeholder, because it was interesting and I liked it. What do I think overall about City on the Edge Battle? I think that the story was great, I thought that the characters were great, I thought that the animation was great, I thought that the music was great, but could have been used in a few more different places, and I thought Godzilla Earth was great, and Mechagodzilla for what he was in this movie was also pretty good. So overall, I'm gonna give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a step above Planet of the Monsters. But I want to know your guys' thoughts. Did you think that City on the Edge Battle was good, trash, or somewhere in between? Either way, this is Sam the Geigen fan telling you guys to give praise to the egg and remember to wash your hands.